Welcome back to another episode of The Road to an Effective Classroom Environment, the podcast where we explore strategies, leadership practices, learning conditions that help students and educators thrive. I am your host, Dr. LaShanta, known as that classy, sassy consultant, education leader, and advocate for learning environments that empower every student to walk in purpose, passion, and possibility. In honor of Career and Technical Education Month, CTE Month, today's episode shines a spotlight on a powerful role high school career centers play in preparing students for college, careers, and life. We're talking about leadership, innovation, workforce readiness, and how CTE programs are transforming what success looks like for students across our communities. I am excited to welcome today's guest, Mr. Robert C. Washington, a Career Center leader who is doing impactful work every day to connect classrooms to careers. He is the principal at Samuel A. Hayward Career and Technology Center in Columbia, South Carolina. And I also want to throw out the caveat here right now that he is also my supervisor, my principal. And so we will have a very candid conversation and do some deep dives about all things CTE. Welcome, Mr. Washington.
Thank you so much. I feel honored to be on your podcast. I feel like you're the Oprah podcasting as it relates to education, ma'am. And so I'm honored to be on.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's the first time I've gotten that. The Oprah of podcasts. I might have to use that on my next promo. So before we kind of get started into some of these deep questions, tell me a little bit about the Career Center, or tell our audience about the Career Center and the programs that are offered there.
So we have a number of programs that we offer here. If you look at the original 16 clusters, we have 14 of the 16 clusters. We have welding, we have megatronics, we have building construction, barbering, cosmetology, culinary arts, including baking and pastry. We have media, we have IT, we have CNA. There is so much here that our students can do, and so much in terms of being able to earn potential credentials that can lead to future employment and workforce readiness. So Hayward has great opportunities, and we're still exploring more opportunities. We just added on law enforcement as another option for our young people, as well as a part of our media piece, the web page design and animation that we're kicking off this month. We've got Toon Boom that our students are going to be utilizing, same software that is being utilized at Disney, Nickelodeon, Pixar. Our students are going to be delving into that same type of software to develop those wonderful skills needed if they would like to pursue careers in that particular arena. So Hayward is doing great things, wonderful things, but we still have not scratched the surface of what we can do and what I'd like to see us do in the future.
Okay, awesome. Those are a lot of programs that are out there for the students. Now, I heard you say the word credentialing, and even though I know what you're talking about there, when you're talking about credentialing, share with the audience, what does that exactly mean? What can the students get out of just, they're taking the courses, but what else are they getting when they come through at Hayward?
So the great thing about coming through Hayward and being a part of what we do here, we prepare you for real world situations. So many individuals who work, let's just take, for example, automotive. If you're here and you're working in the automotive area, and that's your pathway, you are able to get your ASC certification. When you arrive to a dealership, you'll see that sticker in the corner that says ASC certification. Our students are getting those certifications, specifically setting them up where they can walk into a dealership and be certified to work immediately. Some dealerships still will send them off to get additional training, but for the most part, our students are ready to go day one when they leave from here. I pay for those certifications through our Perkins funding, some of our district funding, and our students are able to take these certifications at no cost, and they're being trained by individuals in their field, preparing them for those transitions. Same thing with IT, CNA. They're being trained and they're getting certifications that are making them workforce ready.
That's awesome, and I know a little bit about the credentialing piece before even being a part of Hayward. My daughter, she went through the CNA program back home at Ainer when it was Ainer Conway Career Center. Is no longer existing now, but she went through. She actually went through the Academy for Technology and Academics, and that's where she received her CNA certification.
Excellent.
So, very familiar with that. Um, I see on your screen that you've got CTE month 100 years. And so we want to say something about that. 100 years of CTE. It feels like it's still a baby. When you say 100 years, you think that's a lot. But when you look at how old education is and how far back education goes, CTE is a baby right now.
I agree with you 100%. And this month, we're celebrating CTE and all the wonderful things that come along with CTE. But CTE has changed. We are evolving. We are innovating. That's what CTE is about innovation and constant changing. This month, we're doing a great deal in terms of showcasing students who are getting their credentials. They're getting ready. We have speakers that are coming in the classroom, sharing their knowledge of their craft. We also had most recently a parent shadow day. So our parents were able to come into our school environment, go into our labs, see what their child is doing every single day to get career ready. And for the most part, our parents are shocked, they're surprised, they can't believe what their child is learning. And if the parent is in that career field, the parents are also coming in and saying that my child is learning the information that's going to give them the edge, the advantage. Because when you're walking in there and you're interviewing for a job, you have these credentials already, you have the experience, you have the exposure to work-based learning, you've been able to do some shadowing. All of these things are going to make you more appealing to industry and business. And so we're celebrating the power of CTE. I like to say that we are able to change that narrative for our young people. If you are a student, an individual, and you and I, we're from the PD area. And we grew up, it was not always the easiest pathway. We went through some challenges, but we do know that education is the key that opens those doors for us. And having the opportunity to come through a center and being able to graduate job ready, you can change that narrative for your life forever. And you can move yourself out of poverty and move yourself on the right path where you have the things that you need, desire, and deserve. And so we're making dreams happen here at the CTE Center. And so as we celebrate CTE month, I like to think of it as we're changing the narrative for our young people. We're giving them hope. We're giving them opportunity and the chance to be lifelong learners, but to be successful in their endeavors to reach their fullest potential.
And I love that word, lifelong learner. I use that so often. And so, um, being able to offer those opportunities for students is great. It is very awesome. And you've kind of touched on what my first question was going to be in talking about what CTE month means to you and your school community. It sounds like this is definitely something that's embraced not just during the month of February, but all year round. And doing
Absolutely.
the parent shadowing days, that's another way of having the community to come in and see what the programs are about alongside the parents. So it's great stuff that's going on. What is your vision for the Career Center, and how does it connect to workforce and college readiness? What is that big vision that you have?
You know, I'm always thinking about what do we do next? If we're not thinking about how we can continue to grow, how we can continue to learn, and what I'm talking about is the adults in the environment. A superintendent that I had the privilege to work with, Dr. Randy Bridges, just an amazing leader. But the one thing that I learned from him is that sometimes in organizations, we have the saying that this is the way we've always done it. And if we let that be the way we approach situations, we will never grow and we will never change and we'll never meet the needs of what industry and business is expecting from us. So I like to approach it from the standpoint of always being innovative, thinking about what industry and business is requiring from us, but learning as much as we possibly can, not being comfortable. The moment we begin to be comfortable, then we're not able to move forward. We have to think of CTE as being just like in education, as being like many other businesses. As the client and that customer changes, we have to change also to meet the needs of the customer. CTE education is about students having the opportunity to engage and make the world make those connections, those real world connections. You're actually putting your hands on things and you're doing. So I want to see us to continue to learn and grow and innovate. Right now, we have a $100,000 grant for EV. It's something that I've been talking about since I arrived here at Hayward. I said I wanted us to start looking at EV and EV technology. Electric vehicles are coming in our area. We have Scout that's already here. I've been looking at that and how can we, even before Scout was announced, how can we best teach our kids these options? But with this grant, we have an EV vehicle, we have the software to teach our students, but we're exploring additional opportunities and adding different additional skills to our students' repertoire, which is going to help make them more marketable. And my hopes are is that we continue as a center to stay innovative and on the cutting edge, but it means that we're going to have to change our thinking as well. What we used to do, and we've always done it that way, is not going to work for us. We have to be willing to be flexible and change. If Apple said, hey, we're fine with the Apple phone as it is right now, this is the way we've always done it, Apple would be right left behind with some of the other brands that we've had out there, like BlackBerry.
Right.
I love my BlackBerry.
Me too.
I love my BlackBerry, but BlackBerry didn't change. And so before you know it, your CTE center will become irrelevant. So how can you maintain that your CTE center being relevant? So to sum it all up, continuing to do your research, being innovative, you have to go out and see. You have to understand where the market is leading, where industry is leading, what's the latest in technology. You have to go out and be willing to get the training. And I offer that to my teachers. We make sure we get them out there to get that additional training. But I try to move them outside of their comfort zone. And as a leader, I move outside of my comfort zone as well. And that means exploring, learning more, and enhancing my skills. And that might mean going to other centers and see what they're doing, and doing more reading, doing research, and looking at how best will this support the needs of our students to make them more marketable.
That all of that sounds great. Professional, that's professional learning. That is growth for that teacher's professional development. So if you're not willing to change, then as you said, these career centers will remain stagnant and could actually go backwards.
Absolutely.
Brought up, us being from the PD area. I'm a Conway girl. You're a
Johnsonville.
Johnsonville. There we go. I
Johnsonville.
knew I was going to forget that one.
Lawrence County, yes.
Florence County, but Johnsonville. I got a story about Hemingway, but we're not going to go there on this one. But being from where we're from and growing up during the times that we grew up, we remember hearing the word vocational.
Yes.
Now talk a little bit about that because we still hear it sometimes makes me cringe now that I'm
Trade
in
schools. The
trade
trade
school.
schools.
Right. It makes me cringe now when I hear it, and I have to be more cognizant to say, okay, just teach the person the difference, because what is done now at the career centers
Right,
is not the same as what was done back when it was
right.
vocational trade schools. So talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
that whole transition from vocational to career and technology.
So I think the best way for me to approach this is from the standpoint of something I shared with some principals. I stood up and shared with some principals in my district. I said that career and technology education has changed. We are no longer the vocational center or the trade school. Once upon a time, you would send the kids that could not do to the vocational center, the trade school. Doesn't do well in academics, let's send them over there.
Right.
That is not what we do and what we need to do today. We need the ones that can do, who are willing to do, and who are willing to make that connection. And we can help bridge that gap. But we want the willing souls who can come over here, because it is focused on careers, it is focused on technology. You still have to have a strong math. You still have to have a strong language arts background in order to run some of the complicated machinery, to do some of the skilled labored work that is required. Because math is involved in everything we do, from cooking to the building construction piece to the IT piece. English language arts is involved in all of those areas. Chemistry is involved even in our barbering and cosmetology area, because if you don't have a person who can read effectively, who can write, or who understands math, and they're putting chemicals on your hair, you may have a outcome you're not ready for. So at the end of the day, we need individuals who are ready for those areas. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be perfect in those specific areas, because we can help bridge that gap and make that connection. And that's what the career centers do. We make that connection, but that stigma still exists. That stigma still exists that if I'm an IB student and a National Baccalaureate student, if I'm an AP student, if I'm an honor student, I don't go to Career Center. But if you want to be a doctor, let's get you over to this Career Center. Let's get you in a CNA program. If you want to be a computer science major, let's get you over to the Career Center and put you in the IT program. Let's do cybersecurity. Let's do our networking. If you want to be a business owner and you're thinking about owning a restaurant, let's get you in the culinary arts so you can get your Safe Serve certification, where you can be a manager at the age of 18, like this young man is actually 17, and he is an assistant manager at one of our local restaurants, and he still goes to school. But at 17 years old, because he has a Safe Serve manager and his Safe Serve food handler certification, he has been afforded this opportunity. So let's get these young people over here and let's break down that wall. When we say vocational and we say trade schools, there is a negative connotation with it. There's an old stereotype of those are the kids that can't do. But I believe even back then, those kids could do, but
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that needed engagement,
Right.
and the engagement was not there in the classroom. We all don't learn the same way. Sit and get does not work. Career technology education brings it all together and makes learning relevant. And so I think the more we do in our regular classroom and that aligns with career and technology education, the better off we'll be overall in including everyone into the lesson and into the structure of the classroom setting.
And that is definitely a good point, because this podcast is about finding those effective ways to make sure that the classroom environment is on point, and anywhere from effective strategies of engagement to professional learning from all staff members, to even at the district level, and what the district level leaders what they can do to help make sure classrooms are effective. So if all classrooms are effective, whether they're traditional or career, we are doing well, and any
Absolutely.
student can come and participate within those programs. And it's funny that sometimes I've had adults that have asked me, "Can I get a Can I come to Hayward and get a certification?" I'm like, "No, you've already done." But I appreciate you wanting to come.
But funny you say that. I am in collaborating with our adult ed program here because in South Carolina, of course, our CTE department at the at the education department and adult ed has combined. And so they are working closely together. So I'm working with our adult ed director here in our district in hopes that we can offer after hours opportunity to the adult learners. That is going to continue to help stimulate our economy. It's going to continue to stimulate opportunity for individuals, businesses, companies to be able to find individuals who are skilled laborers and they have those certifications that are necessary to get some of these jobs that are asking for skilled laborers. And so we're hoping we may be able to kick that off in March. That is our goal. If we can get some funding aligned through the right means, that we could probably start with offering some small courses to welders, a few welders just to start it off. But we want to move forward with trying to better utilize the facility, better utilize the opportunity to reach out to more individuals within our community. Because I have parents come up all the time and said, I wish I had this opportunity when I was in high school. My child has this, but I really could use taking a welding class because I'd like to move up at my job, but I don't have the time. I don't have the funds to be able to do that, but I want to grow and I want to learn. And so hopefully we can make this happen. And through that, we can continue to lift up our community. And if we're lifting up these adults, and if the students are seeing us lifting up their parents, I think at the end of the day, these students are going to be even more motivated to move forward and do great things.
That sounds awesome. That is my favorite word, awesome. That sounds awesome to be able to bridge that gap for those adults and bridging the gap between Hayward and um, the
Adult
adults
education,
adult
yeah.
education. That is going to be awesome. Cool. When do you find time to sleep?
I don't.
Okay, well, you
I
may want
feel
to
like
do
I don't.
that
I feel
because
like I
that
don't.
those
You've gotten on
sound.
me a couple of times about
I
ideas that I
have.
popped up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning,
Uh huh.
and I've just typed it out and just send them. And you was like, "This is at 4 o'clock in the morning. Shouldn't you have been sleeping?" But my mind is constantly going, and I'm always trying to think of what can I do to better help support not only the students that I work with, but also the teachers that I'm in charge to take care of because at the end of the day, I'm a servant leader, and I encourage my teachers. They're servant leaders. We're here for the students. We're here for the community, and I'm here for my teachers. I'm here for my parents. I'm here for those students. And my goal is to make sure that we have everything aligned as best I can. It can get them aligned to provide a quality service so that they can transition to their next level, whether straight to the workforce, straight to a 2 year college or 4 year college. They feel comfortable and they have the tools that are essential for their success. That's why we're here.
You're right. That is exactly why we are here. And that is leadership at its best. So, thank you for your leadership and just what you do at Hayward because the impact is being felt. And so you may have already shared this, but I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna be curious to see what the answer is gonna be. It may be something you've already shared, but what is a moment or a success story that captures the impact of your work? It may not be at Hayward. You may have a impact story from your years in which you have served in other capacities.
It's there's so many different stories that definitely come to mind, and there's some stories that I haven't been able to. They didn't turn out the way I wanted them to turn out, but they made an impact in my life.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to touch on a CTE story, The one that comes to mind is a student that I had the privilege of being his principal when I served at Columbia High School here in the community, and he, of course, followed me over here to Hayward. And when that student got off the bus, and we'll just call him Samuel. Samuel got off the bus. I immediately said, Samuel, what are you doing over here? I said, I know you're not gonna come up here with the foolishness that you had over there at Columbia High with me. I was constantly behind this student, left and right. I had to handpick his schedule, always picking him to be placed as much as possible with engaging teachers so that he remains in the classroom. Because if he wasn't in the classroom, I was in the hallway chasing him. And he was involved in some gang activity and some other things. And so I'm like, we're not gonna have that foolishness over here. You're gonna stay focused. You're gonna do what you need to do because I got hammers, I got blowtorches, I have all this stuff over here. I'm not gonna have this. And he was like, Squash, I'm cool, man. You know, there's no problem. I mean, that's what you told me at Columbia High. But my friend, we're not gonna have that foolishness. I got too much stuff over here. So I said, I'm gonna see you in class. And so I followed him to building construction. A couple of minutes later, I went in there and I spoke with the teacher, and I said, "What is Samuel doing in here? Um, you got to keep me posted. He stays in so much stuff. I know him. I said, I don't need him recruiting members for his little gang. I don't need this." And the teacher said, "Oh my gosh, oh, I'm having problems out of him. He's a foreman in my class." I said, "Foreman?" So I watched Samuel. He's telling the guys, "You cut the board the wrong length. Did you measure this board before you cut it? Now, that's not the way we drive these nails into that board. No, you didn't put the siding on right." He's calling
Wow.
out all of this.
Wow.
And I said to myself, I said, whoa, I,
It's the
this
aha
kid is
moment.
different. It's the aha moment for me. I knew engagement was important. I knew how important engagement was, and I was
Yeah.
placing with engaging people and teachers. But at the end of the day, to see him moving in this environment, the sad part of the story is that he got in trouble at his home school. And when he got into trouble, he got pulled from here. And I found myself fighting to try to figure out how can I get him over here? How can I get transportation to get him from the alternative school over here to complete the building construction course? Because he was in level 4 and he was going to be a completer. How could I make that happen? And of course, I couldn't make it happen. But since that time, it's allowed for me and the alternative school principal to be able to work through what we weren't doing. We'd always done it that way, where we did not allow those alternative school students to continue. They went to an alternative setting, that was it. But several of those students did not cause me problems in this environment. They were model citizens, perfect citizens in my environment. However, at their home school, distractions, but
Right.
here, model citizens. So I've been able to work with the alternative school principal, and we've been able to allow some of these students to continue their pathways. At the end of the day, continuing that pathway, getting the credentials are going to set them up so that they can be job ready.
Hmm.
Job ready. Yes, we still got to work on the behavior, but if I can get you behaving in this environment, I can translate that over to you getting into a job environment with the right boss, with the right mentor, and you're behaving in that environment and you're excelling in that environment. So we're working with some of those students to continue their pathway, even though they've made some mistakes. Continue the pathway because career education, as I said before, it can change the narrative for these young people if given a chance, if given an opportunity. But I know that's the way we've always done it. We've yanked them out, but it's time for change. And if we can work with some of these students and save a few of them and put them on the right pathway, we're doing a lot for our community as a whole. And we're giving them something that they might be missing, and that's hope.
And that's that definitely is what it's all about, is making sure that we can help students. And it sounds like that in this situation, even though it may not have been the success story that you wanted for the young man, it has become a success story for those who may be similar to him that will now have an opportunity because that
Absolutely.
bridge has come together, so that those students, if they happen to mess up, we all have messed up. We all mess up. We
Absolutely.
mess up every day. And sometimes our
Absolutely.
students, the way that our system is structured, if they mess up one time, and if it's that level 3 offense, then we have to do what has to be done. And sometimes that
Absolutely.
is alternative setting, and unfortunately sometimes you have students who are dismissed from school.
Absolutely.
But if there's a way to help those students, because we know that they are going to be they are citizens, they are
Absolutely.
going to be those who are out there, hopefully in the workforce, and not engaging in activities that will have them in places where they don't want to be. So
Right.
that definitely is a success story. That is more to come, because
Absolutely.
it will definitely help many. So you've talked a lot about the importance, just from what you've shared so far, the importance of culture and relationships and relevance, just in making those connections with those students. So tell me a little bit about, we're going to talk a little bit about teachers and what you see makes a great CTE teacher, and then how do you support their growth? How do you support teacher growth? First, what's a great CTE teacher, and then how do you support the growth of teachers?
So, a great CTE teacher is an individual who is willing to continue to learn. Um, Even though you may be retired from your given field, you still can't retire from learning. So, yes, you've done 30 years in the construction area. However, what are you still learning? You've done 30 years as a CNA, but what are you still learning? Or you've done 20 years in law enforcement. What are you still learning? You have to continue to learn and grow, because that's the only way you're going to prepare our young minds for the changes, the constant changes that are going on in those career areas and in those particular fields. So I'm looking for someone who has that passion to continue to learn and grow. I'm also looking for risk takers as well. And there are calculated risks that you should take in a classroom. We may say, this is the way that I was told or instructed to deliver instructions to students. However, you realize that it's not reaching everyone. So you've got to figure out some way to get to the 5, the 10 that you're not able to reach. What can you do to reach those individuals? It might mean that you take their vocabulary words, you drop it in the AI, and you create some song or rap about that unit. And the next thing you know, those students have it. They have the formulas down pat and they're ready to go. But thinking outside the box. So a I'm looking for someone who's not willing to stay within that box or within that framework, but going out and trying something unique, trying something different, but taking a risk, a calculated risk to help young people move to the next level. We don't all learn the same. We all have different needs, but how can you specifically meet those targeted needs? I'm also looking for someone who just have a great relationship with students. Relationships are everything. You work hard for people you like.
Right,
Doesn't mean you have to be best friends with the students,
right.
but they have to know that you respect them. You may be firm with your approach. You may be no nonsense. You may have high expectation, and we want you to have high expectations. But one thing they know is that you're fair and that you're consistent and that you'll work with them. And so if students know those things, they'll do anything for you. So I'm looking for a variety of different things in those individuals. Um, but I just want you to love the kids. Just
Right.
love the kids. I think you gotta love what you do, but love the individuals you're delivering it to. Um, this is an opportunity to change their life forever. And if you're not in it for the right reasons, you're not going to have the impact that you should have. I've dealt with CTE teachers who um, will say and have said that they should already know that. They should know that you have to be on time. They should know that you're not supposed to wear this. They should know, but it's about where you have been raised and your experiences.
Right.
Being an individual who grew up in poverty, there was a lot of things that I did not know. But there were some things that were shared with me through my family, but also I had great teachers who took the time to make sure that I understood those things. Otherwise, I would not be able to be here as an instructional leader.
Right.
So
Right.
someone gave me a chance, someone gave me an opportunity, someone found out a little more about me and made sure my needs were met, even if it was just a need for a mentor and encouraging words, or experiences, giving me some of those experiences and getting me out of Johnsonville and getting me, on trips, field trips, getting me to businesses and industry so I could see. But that's what I'm looking for in a teacher who's willing to think outside the box and not um, be detached from the students where they're not realizing that our young people go through a lot. In terms of how I support teachers, I support them through professional development. Um, the one thing that my teachers know over the years from me serving in various capacities at all levels is that if you come to me with an idea that is in the best interest of students, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. I'm going to make phone calls for you. I'm going to connect you with the right individuals. I'm going to solicit and support you in any way I can because I'm all about trying something different, something new, if the outcome means a reward for the students to be successful. So as a uh, educational leader, I'm flexible. I like to hear my teachers out. I want to see what they're going to do, but I want you to do something.
Mhm.
I was challenged with that as a leader from one of my superintendents. He said, this is where your school is. This is what they've done over the years. What are you going to do different? I told him what I'm going to do, and he said, I'm with that because you want to do something, and I support that. It may not work, but at least you're not sitting there idle. Do something. So as leaders, if our teachers are coming and telling us that they need some type of support, you find a way to give them that support, and you do something to change that narrative for our young people.
That makes so much sense. And you said something that made me think about, and most of the listeners, they may remember this. They may remember on standardized tests where you had to
Yeah,
choose what do you do with cup and what? Cup and table, cup and saucer.
yeah.
So if you didn't know, if that's not what you were exposed to, then going back to the comment that you made about the teachers and saying, "Oh, well, they should know this." Shoulda, coulda, woulda, they may not know
And not
because
know that.
their home life may not be that. And I know
Absolutely.
my home life there was no saucer for a while. It was just the cup
Absolutely.
and the table, not the cup and the saucer.
Exactly.
No,
And you take what you have and you made it work.
right.
And so we have to think about where our students are coming from. They're coming with a lot of baggage. They're coming with a lot of trauma in some cases. And because of some of the experiences that they've had, it's up to us to make those experiences in the learning environment successful, better. It's going to be perfect in the learning environment. However, the school environment should be a great place for not only the teachers, but also the students. We're in the business and we're here because they have a need. And if we're meeting their needs, we're doing our jobs. And when students are successful, I feel like I'm successful. I feel like my teachers are successful and I'm happy. I feel like we're achieving when we are meeting those targeted numbers as it relates to number of students who are credentialed, number of students that have job placement, number of students that are offered work-based learning, the number of students that come back here and say, because of what you've done, I'm on the right road, to my dream and to where I'm passionate about. So those are things that make me feel great and they keep me going. Even when there are tough times that come and you get frustrated because as a
Hmm.
leader, you get frustrated.
Oh
You
yes.
have a vision for what you want to see happen. And we want to have that vision take place just like that. But in order for that vision to take place, there are a lot of different moving parts. And you have to work through that system of moving parts from buy-in to the politics to funding, you name it. And so it does get frustrating when you see where you can be and where we can be for kids, and it's not happening the way you want it to happen. But you have good people around you, and you have great staff members, and there's a lot of times that I'll lean on you and say, this is what I want to see happen. And you're like, it's gonna come, Mr. Washington. It's coming, it's gonna happen. We're here. You've got a team of folks who believe that this is the possibility of what we can do together. And we're going to support that vision. And we're helping to change that narrative for our young people. And you get it. But you want to get it, and you want to get it faster, and you want everyone to get it faster.
Right.
But we do know it takes time, and we have to work through that. But I often see that as time passes, I worry about the kids we miss. I worry about the kids that graduate and they don't get a chance to have these experiences. They don't finish a specific program. They don't get a specific certification. They don't go on to continue. But this could be a game changer to change their life or even save their lives. Because we have some students in some rough situations where if we can align everything together with their careers, we can move them out of these rough situations, and we can place them where they need to be placed so they can be successful. And we can see them move and transform in another way, and maybe even pull some additional individuals up with them, because maybe it's like, hey, I see what Craig did. I can do the same thing. They're inspiring others. So we want to keep that energy going on. So I just hate to leave any kid behind. And I still try to figure out what can we do to ensure that that doesn't happen. But it's a process. It's a process, and you can't do it alone. You've got to have a team, and you have to have the right team, and you have to have the right individuals behind you, believing in that vision, and who are willing to work that vision and see it through.
You said a mouthful there. The right team supporting the
Yes,
vision, and there are working at Hayward is an exciting place. It
it
is
is.
exciting just seeing what the students are able to do. They're doing what adults who are 20 and 30 years old are doing, and so it is an exciting place. And so I applaud the leadership and what you are doing at Hayward. So we've talked a little bit about CTE. We've talked about Hayward. We talked about the programs. We've talked about teachers and what you look for. Talk a little bit about how businesses and industry partnerships enhance what students experience.
So, of course, we're required to have these advisory groups, advisory teams. Through those advisory teams, our teachers recruit individuals from industry and business to provide support. This fall, we had the mayor come and speak. We had about 63, 64 different companies, industry and business. Here, we fed them. Our students prepared the meal. And they got a chance to sit down and talk with the teachers in each one of those career pathways and discuss what their needs are for the students, where they'd like to see the students be before they graduate. And then we got a chance to ask industry and business, what do you expect from us? What do you expect from the employees that we're sending to you? And so sharing that information between the groups, the two individuals, we're able to prepare the students for better outcomes, and preparing them for what to wear for the interviews, what equipment you need, what resources we need to add on that they might need to have as they transition into that particular workspace. So we're trying to collaborate with industry and business so that we bridge that gap. And in turn, equipment is expensive. So if a company is utilizing equipment and they only utilize it 3 years, 4 years, it's still in great shape. and it may be worth $100,000. But if we can continue, if they can donate that equipment to us and we can use it for a few more years, it's going to increase that opportunity that our students are having exposure to some of the latest and the greatest. We actually had, and I shared with you this information before we got on, that I have to replace some welding equipment. And so the equipment we had is from 2016, and I've been replacing stuff constantly. So as I've been replacing equipment, moving equipment in and out, this piece of equipment failed. So I've got to find $17,000 to replace this equipment, but we're also trying to look at what can we do in terms of collaborating with business and industry so that we can maybe get someone to donate that same piece of equipment, gently used, so that we can move to the next step. And it's about connections, it's about partnerships, but the equipment costs a great deal. It's not cheap running a CTE center. So we're always trying our best to collaborate with others, finding funding so we can make sure our students have the best experience working with the latest and the greatest in terms of technology.
And just talking about those partnerships and the connections, all of that helps our students to bridge that gap between the classroom instruction and then those real world experiences, and being able to have those that equipment, materials, supplies, and those things are not cheap. They're not cheap at
Jake,
all. And just being able to provide that and to negotiate and have those
yeah,
connections with people that they'll say, hey, we don't mind donating this versus selling it or versus recycling it. We would love to donate to Hayward. So this is a great opportunity now for me to say, if there are any business partners out there who would like to partner up with Hayward and has equipment that could support any of the programs, reach out to Mr. Washington and
absolutely.
make sure that you say that you are supporting CTE, and CTE month would be a great time to do that. So thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing that piece as well. And we're getting close to the end of our conversation. We've been enjoying this and just having some candid talks and some deep dives about CTE and how Hayward is supporting students and staff. So talk a little bit about what are some innovations or some new directions that are exciting you right now the most.
So there are quite a few. I would say definitely what we're doing with EV is very exciting because we have Scout coming into our community. So I'm looking at us working with and partnering with Scout. The other thing that is very exciting to me is that we have a dynamic Megatronics teacher who has been working extremely well with the students to build capacity with that program. So we're looking forward to
Let me pause right there. I want to
yes.
while I'm thinking about this. So I was going to show this at the beginning, uh, in showing one of the projects that the Megatronics teacher did. This is a one piece of a four pieces to a puzzle. And so I was
Yes.
in a restorative practice training, and so I wanted him to make the puzzle for me so that I could have it when I'm doing presentations. And so this is from that Megatronics teacher. That's just one piece of the puzzle. So I'm going to do, he doesn't do the painting, so I've got to paint it.
Oh, look, and like I said, he's always thinking outside the box. And when you bring him a project, he gets the kids working, moving on it. But that's what it's about in industry. So our kids will be ready to work at Michelin, Zeus, Husqvarna, wherever, even Scout, because he's getting them to think outside the box. And I think the most amazing thing that I saw from him is that he had a student that was potential dropout who told me his goal was to drop out of high school. And he had that student doing AutoCAD, and successfully doing AutoCAD. So when I talk about teachers making a difference. We got some great CTE teachers around here who are making a difference. He's one of them that is pushing those students to another level. So I think we're going to see a lot more come out of Megatronics. I was on a call just yesterday. We were talking about nuclear energy and
Okay.
what that might mean for our community. And so I'm looking forward to our teachers doing some professional development at Westinghouse in the very near future. From that professional development, we're going to look at how we can help support potential job openings there, especially for welders, building construction, law enforcement, and those individuals that are working in the mechatronics, the industry manufacturing side of things. So we're looking forward to being able to help all the industries that are here in our local community and beyond. But I think we're just going to continue to see more opportunity for us to do more work within the community and to continue to innovate. We hadn't even scratched the surface as it pertains to IT. We do a lot with Cisco and getting our kids a number of different certifications. And we're very proud of what Cisco has done with us, with allowing us to get a number of those certifications at minimum to no cost. So we're very appreciative of that partnership we've had with them, but it's allowed our students to get some certifications that have definitely put them in a place where they can test out of several courses, college courses that they might have to take moving into an IT curriculum at a 2-year or 4-year college. So I'm still thinking about how much more we can do with innovation and how we can continue to grow here at Hayward, because there are just a variety of different areas that we can continue to blossom on and even enhance what we're currently doing by just simply changing our approach and getting industry and business embedded in our approach and our theory and practices.
All right. Sounds great. All of that sounds great. So, looking forward to those new partnerships with nuclear energy, and of course EV. We saw the EV car. That was
Yeah,
actually your idea of having it put out front so that everyone could see it who was
they can
using the
see it.
conference center. So, just
Absolutely.
another way to showcase some of those innovations that are going on. So here is the $1 million question. Where do you see CTE going over the next 5 to 10 years?
My hopes are is that we will see the relevance and the importance of our students being involved in career and technology education. I still think that we still have school counselors that are scheduling students and saying, oh, you don't need to go over there, but you really do need to go over there. If you're planning to be workforce ready, you still need to go over there. Um, Example of two students that I have there at Johnson C. Smith. They're both barbers. Um, and both of those students received their certification through here, or either after they left, they received their certification. But they are cutting hair at Johnson C. Smith in a room that's been designated for them. And because of the work that they're able to do from and the money that they're able to earn from their skill, they don't have to work 40 hours a week at a McDonald's or a Burger King or whatever the case may be. They are able to do something in a skilled area that they enjoy, that they love, and at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it brings them a amount of money that is able to sustain them, and they have to work less hours and can do more focus on the academic side. So having those skills is something that no one can take from you, and it can further enhance you. So definitely CTE opens up doors, and we just got to change that negative connotation, the negative stereotypes that are associated with career education. We talked about the vocational, talk about the trade school terms. Hayward is for every kid. CTE is for every kid. I want to see your IB. I want to see your AP. I want to see your honors. I want to see your dual enrollment students. And then we're even adding on dual enrollment opportunities here because we want to ensure that no student feels that they have to give up any type of quality points for taking a course over here because we have rigorous courses.
Yes.
And these rigorous courses, we're going to add weight to it so that you receive it. Um, but at the end of the day, we've just got to continue to work diligently to ensure that every student has an opportunity and can get the benefits of career and technology education. That's what I want to see happen. Um, I've had the honor and the privilege to be a principal from K through 12, and now at a career center. This is one of the best opportunity jobs I've ever had, but I do understand and know that from my experience that career and technology education just doesn't start at ninth grade. It starts in kindergarten.
Right.
It starts at the elementary level and moves to the middle school level, and we keep refining it every year so that when those students in the ninth grade, they know their pathway, they have clear understanding where their pathway is, and they have clear directions so that we can take them on in these classes and build the capacity and knowledge so that they are career ready and job ready to be able to live their best life. And that's what it's about.
And how powerful would the conversations be uh, when you start in the elementary grades and
Yeah.
when kids are usually saying, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a firefighter, I
Yes.
want to be a doctor. All of those are careers that are touched on in with
Absolutely.
CTE. And even if it's not a program, we have law enforcement, we don't have
Yes.
firefighting, but it is that course is offered in
At
the
Lower
district.
Richland.
And
Absolutely.
exactly. So, how powerful would the conversations be in starting that at the elementary level and giving those teachers that opportunity, that professional learning to be able to tie in talking about the 16 clusters at that grade level? It would be
Absolutely.
awesome because it would help to build the work that CTE does so that it doesn't look like it's starting in just the ninth grade year. It has to start even
Absolutely.
before then. And we know students will change their minds several times about what they
Several
want to
times.
do. I know I did. I changed my
I
mind only
did.
like twice, um, but starting the conversations at the elementary level, that is a whole that's a district wide initiative. That's something that has to start with our district leadership. And so I'm
Absolutely.
gonna put that plug out there because hopefully some of them are listening. Let's have
Yes.
those conversations of how we can converse with our elementary schools and making sure that they are very apt about CTE and college and career readiness as well. So we're going to, as we begin to wrap up our conversation, I want to bring this back to leadership and learning environments. And so tell me what inspires you to continue leading in CTE and what advice would you give to a school leader building or redesigning CTE programs?
So what inspires me is that, I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of innovation. I'm not afraid of learning something new. So from that standpoint, CTE is a great fit for me. But I think we have to take that same um, thought that we have about CTE to being a middle school principal, a high school principal, or elementary school principal. I was never afraid of doing something different. As an elementary school principal, I came in and I noticed immediately that some of my students weren't doing well in math, some weren't doing well in English. I looked at lesson plans and tried to correlate what is the difference here. What I realized is that every teacher did not have a strength in a particular area. So one teacher A strong in ELA reading, teacher B strong in math. So teacher A was spending most of her day in language arts and reading and only a few minutes a day in math. Other teacher doing a lot of strong math activities, science activities, but spending less time in the reading area. So even early on, I was like, let's do something different. And I started teaming the teachers, and that reduced how much they had to plan for, but it also allowed for there to be more focused time to allow these students to get what they really needed. Now, I think a lot of that just came down to my experience of being an assistant principal and wondering why my ninth grade students couldn't read.
Yes.
Um, and so each experience, as a leader, you grow on and you learn from those experiences, but you take a risk and you go outside the norm. So as a CTE director, you got to think outside the norm, but as a leader in general, think outside the norm, do things different, but do what's in the best interest of your students. If you're going to be successful in this particular arena, be willing to connect with others. You've got to be able to talk about the vision. You've got to be able to write the vision plain, but you've also got to be able to persevere through the naysayers. There are going to be naysayers who are going to say, you don't need that program. You don't need this. You don't need that. Let's just do what we've always done. But doing what you always have done is going to give you the same results you've always gotten. So you've got to be willing to move beyond the naysayers, try something new, and work through the no's and be able to ask respectfully, why not?
Right.
Why not? Um, and be willing to get that answer, but also being able to throw back a response of, have we considered what
Mm-hmm.
impact it has for students? If it may make that person that you're talking to, it may be uncomfortable for them, but at the end of the day, what's best for kids? And if we look at it from that standpoint, we will build the right capacity to support the needs of students, whether it's in a CT center, a high school, a middle school, or elementary school. What's best for students? We'll build that right capacity as we move forward in the future. Um, Definitely a lot with collaboration, a lot with cross-curricular planning, making sure that what we're doing over here connects back to what's being done at the home school, and that the home schools realize that there is relevance in this good work that we're doing, and that uh, we can work together. As we look at it overall, we can work together and we can allow that connection between CTE and the traditional curriculum to merge, and we can teach collaborative units, whether it's geometry unit and I'm doing roofing,
Mm-hmm.
Pythagoras theory versus me doing formulas. Um, all of that has a place. Whether I'm trying to figure out a formula for how to feed 100 people, and I am trying to expand a recipe out, they all have a place. They have a relevance. But we've just got to get together and work within it and learn more about it and not be afraid of it. We've got great resources in our district that we can utilize. We have wonderful pathways. We have great professional development. It's just taking a risk and taking a chance, listening, but being willing to change.
And I agree with you on all of that. And so, the last question that we have for our discussion today, in your opinion, what role does school culture play in creating an effective career focused learning environment?
School culture is everything. School culture is everything. And you can have a culture that's good, um, and everyone can be very comfortable in that culture. Once again, we've always done it that way. So why can't we just continue to do it that way? Well, doing it that way, we only had 300 kids enrolled. But doing it differently, maybe we can have 800 kids enrolled, and that has a stronger impact. Maybe we've always done that program, but maybe it's not a program we need to do because we only have 10 kids enrolled for the entire year. So culture is everything. Um, Making sure that you have a culture that is a winning culture, a culture that's not good, but a culture that's willing to move from good to great. We talk about, brands that we know that are working. Nike, Nike just said, we're going to be good, and that's good enough for us. Pepsi didn't just say that's good enough for us. Or Apple didn't say, we've innovated enough. Let's just kind of coast right now. Schools have to be the same way. We've got to think of how we can move from being good to great. And how are we keeping up with the ever changing world? and our the clientele in which we are uh, trying to relate to, the clientele in which we are working with, and that's our students. Maybe it was okay, um, and I don't think it was okay then, but when you and I were in school and we were lectured to for an hour and a half, 2 hours, when we we're in college, it wasn't good then, and we struggled. We struggled. But with our learners today, they are used to engagement. We have to change our approach. So moving forward, changing your approach, being flexible, thinking outside the box, and not being trapped in that box, but actually doing some reflection, being a reflective leader, being a reflective instructor. That is going to be the key to your overall success. I reflect on every decision that I make. I reflect on every choice that I endeavor in. I reflect on my pathways because that reflection allows me to grow, and being able to think about how I reflect on those items, right or wrong, whether I thought that things went great or not, reflecting on those items and figuring out how I can better improve is going to make me a better leader. It's going to make me a better leader from an instructional standpoint, but also a better principal for being able to relate to my teachers, to my colleagues, also district officials, parents, you name it, and even the public, industry, and business. Just how I reflect and what I learned. So I hope what they see from me is someone who wants to see his school grow. He wants his teachers to grow. And I want everyone in this environment to be successful. And I'm willing to do what it takes to ensure that they're being successful. But what I ask is that they just be willing to trust me on this journey, because that's what it is. We got to trust each other on this journey. And I'm not going to chop their heads off if we make some mistakes along the way, because we all make mistakes. But what we're going to do is we're going to regroup and we're going to learn together so that we can build the next a great, I believe, in terms of what we can do here at Hayward, just the next great career center that is going to be a national model, a worldwide model that people will look up to and say, what are they doing? And that they feel like this is a place where they're changing lives, and that we're not just a footnote in history, but we're making history
Right.
every day.
I agree with that. And you said so many of my own buzzwords, and you touched on at least 10 or 15 of my podcast episodes. You talked about servant leadership, you talked about reflective leadership, just reflecting and just looking back throughout the day. At the end of the day, I'm always going back and thinking about those things. So I wish I had a bell to ring every time I heard a buzzword, because you touched on so much of my leadership style and just what I believed in, and why the road to an effective classroom environment, why this podcast actually does exist. So
Absolutely.
and you spoke so well and articulated your vision for Samuel A. Hayward Career and Technology Center. And so I do thank you so much for sharing your time, your insight, and your heart for your students. And your work is a powerful reminder of why career and technical education matters, not just this month, but every day. And to our listeners, thank you for joining me on the road to an effective classroom environment. If today's conversation inspired you, share this episode with an educator, school leader, a parent, or a community partner who believes in preparing students for real world success. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me for more conversations focused on building schools where every learner can thrive. Until next time, remember that effective classroom environments do not just prepare students to graduate, they prepare them to thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
You're
be able to have
welcome.
this wonderful dialogue with you.
You are so welcome. Hopefully, we can have you back again for another CTE month or for another episode.
Absolutely.